Aha, so we have Deontay Wilder's trainer has come to join us, Malik Scott.
How you doing, brother?
Yeah, very well, thank you, very well. Great to see Deontay in the UK. The last time I saw him here, I was sitting just behind him at Wembley Stadium for Anthony Joshua against Vladimir Klitschko, and I was hoping at that point that fight might get made and we would see the pair of them just across the road at Wembley before too long. They're on the same card, not fighting each other. What are your initial thoughts on that?
The business of boxing took over as far as that aspect is concerned, but at the same time they're trying to give the world, you could say the promoters and your excellency is even trying to give the world, you can say, a taste of what's coming. And what's coming is the biggest fights in the heavyweight division. This is, in my opinion, a very marquee second starter following the Fury and Ngannou. So people could look forward to, first things first, these guys, we have to handle Parker. Josh will have to handle Wilder, and then we could talk about really seeing, for a fact, Deontay Wilder knocking Anthony Joshua out.
One thing I do wonder about any fighter when they're, moving into their 30s and their mid-30s. I was at that fight against Fury, the third fight.
Yes.
Unbelievable fight. I mean, I was gobsmacked by the whole thing, but particularly after what happened in the second fight, for Deontay to just come back seemingly like nothing had happened and just swing until his last breath was amazing. Yeah. But that could take a lot away from a fighter. I mean, how's he looking in the gym? Because he's only had one round since then.
He's looking good in the gym, and I agree with you with that. But I would have to. The only thing I also believe concerning what you just said was I believe a multiple of fights like that take a toll on a fighter. He had 3 fights with Fury. The first fight was a draw. The second fight, it took a toll on him. The third fight was another toll. But if you really look at it, Deontay Wilder, besides the Fury fights, he hasn't taken that much, you can say, offense input, concerning taking punishment that a lot of fighters take. So his body is still fresh. He's a young 38-year-old. He's the hardest puncher in the history of the sport, which means a lot of his fights haven't gone the distance. So that means the wear and tear is not really on his body. It's just all about him staying disciplined and doing what he has to do.
A lot of the question marks at the moment, I think, around Wilder will be the time out of the ring and under the lights, because we know it's a different feeling.
The inactivity.
He's had one round over quite a substantial amount of time compared to Parker, who's been in the ring quite a bit as of late. Is that any sort of, I wouldn't go as far as saying concern, but is it a point you're looking at? Is there a way you're addressing that in any sense, or?
The best way to address it, in my opinion, is not even in my opinion. To me, it's a natural fact that these fighters, even when they don't have fights coming up and the inactivity is kicking in from a business aspect, you got to be training 3, 4, or 5 times a week. Yeah. You have to stay active. And one thing about me, when a fighter is not in the gym, he still get boxing from me. So Deontay is always talking about the craft, always strategizing. And when he's not on having fights, he's training 3 to 4 times a week. And then when we get the call, and the call is suitable and the revenue makes sense and it's big time boxing like we're at now, then we back in the gym full speed like we're doing for December 23rd.
He touched on it up on the stage, and it's something I'd love to ask him actually. So hopefully he will make his way up here. But you too, he talked about basically the kind of mentality it takes to be a knockout merchant in the heavyweight division, because boxing's dangerous. We know that it takes a massive commitment, but to commit to that particular kind of Assassin's Creed, you might like to call it, that's a whole other level. It's that acceptance almost of, I'm going to try and knock you out, you're going to try and knock me out, let's go. Yeah. I mean, it's a very particular thing, isn't it?
Yeah, especially when you're dealing with dangerous punches. Like I would even say AJ is a dangerous punch. He's just not as a much dangerous punch as Deontay Wilder. And I judge that off of what I see Deontay do with 20 ounces on, 18 ounces on, and everything, and the damage he does to guys. So being in this noble art is a beautiful thing, but these fighters' life is on the line. That's why it's really hard for me to go to fight parties, because I'm very defensive when it comes to people that don't box, talking trash about people that actually box, because I'm very sensitive about boxers, you could say, in that sense, and protecting the sport coming from a judging standpoint. But it's this noble art. It's the greatest show on earth, and it's either you get me or I get you, and whoever strategizes the most and stay disciplined and hold themselves accountable the most are the ones who usually see the light at the tunnel. And that's what we're looking forward to doing December 23rd. Seeing a good light, another knockout, violent light at the tunnel being distributed on Joseph Parker.
How do you find that? I mean, you're kind of earlier in your career, but you're at a very, very good level now, and it is that acceptance is probably the right word. You're absolutely determined it's not going to be you, but it could be you.
That's always the word I was going to use, was acceptance. You have to, even before you have your first ever fight, before you get in the ring, the first ever time, you have to sit there and almost have a conversation with yourself and say, look, this could go south. I could be the one sparked out on the floor. But I think the thing about boxers maybe that makes us a bit different or a little bit loose is that we know that if we're the ones to get the win, it feels so much better. It's worth the risk. It's worth rolling the dice and seeing how you come out. And for us as fighters, for us as boxers, we live for that moment of, especially in my career or some of the fights I've had, the best moments you've seen for me are when they've been a bit tasty or when it's been a bit uncomfortable, and that little switch goes in your head and you're like, okay, cool, here we go. I'm gonna double down now and put on a show.
No, it's fascinating, that kind of ability to compartmentalise, if you like, to say to yourself, admit this could happen to me, but by the same token, it's definitely not going to happen to me. It takes a very particular type of person to be able to do that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, a lot of it depends on your preparation, your sacrifices, and everything you gave up. The first time I met this young man, it was in Ukraine. I don't know how many fights you had. How many fights you had around that time?
I had about 5 or 6
5
by then.
professional fights, not a big amateur career, and he came there to box Alexander Usyk. After the first day I watched him box Alexander Usyk, I was very impressed. Years went on, and as you can see, he set the bar very high, not just for his opposition, but for himself. So I wanted to tell you, because I'm just seeing you in person, I'm extremely proud
Appreciate
of you.
it, brother. Thank you,
Continue to do what you do, and yeah, I'm extremely proud of you, man.
Well, he turned up to that sparring camp with Usyk by himself, which people don't generally do. You know, they usually take.
I didn't know what to do. It was my first one. I was like, they asked for me, I'm here. Let's go.
That was your first camp, wasn't it?
Yeah, my first one.
Yeah,
my first one. So I rolled up and I got stuck in. And I think again, us as boxers and fighters, that's the best thing we're best at, is just getting in and going, look, I'm gonna figure this out as I go along.
Just before we let you go, let's kind of veer things back to the 23rd of December.
Yes.
I could talk about this stuff all day.
Yeah.
Parker, as we say, he's a threat. You're not looking past him. You can't look past him. In terms of the whole card and the whole event, it's pretty extraordinary, isn't it, really? Because we thought we knew what was going to happen on December the 23rd. We thought it was Fury Usyk. We are going to get that, but not on that date. And this has all come together so quickly in a way that just never normally happens.
Yeah. If the world was waiting on something and it wasn't going to happen, right? So we're going to say the world was waiting on Fury and Usyk, right? And that was something to look forward to. Well, to me, this is a perfect card, a beyond perfect card to let the world have something until they get to the fight that they really, really want. This card right here, it reminds me of the days of when a certain promoter used to throw big cards and 8 and 9 world championship fights used to be on one card. But in my opinion, this is better because it's basically all heavyweights. Bivol is on the card. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the card is so big that people that may not even know about the card, they won't even know that he's on it because there's so many high-level names in the heavyweight division that's fighting each other. And I'm happy to be a part of it. I have the most dangerous man on the planet that's going to steal this show, and I'm looking forward to that December 23rd, which is, we all know, Deontay Wilder.